Alright, everybody, it's time for part 3 of the Game Wisdom Awards for Best of 2023. And for this entry, we are going horror. Action horror, survival horror, limited horror, all the boos and spooks and jump scares that one can imagine. For our first runner-up, it is the Creepy Syndrome. This is a short-form anthology horror where you have 4 different games with their own unique aesthetics and gameplay. This is a very solid, minimalistic style game that it definitely is greater than the sum of its parts. But the shortness and just general lack of, any real multiple ways of interacting with the different games does kind of limit it and keep it from making it to the best of lists. Our second runner-up is You Will Die Here Tonight, a game that combines the very apparent inspirations of Resident Evil with its own take on a time loop puzzle design. This is a game that definitely is borrowing from a lot of different sources for its gameplay, and what keeps it from making it to the best of section of this list is that I feel like it doesn't quite go far enough with the kind of time loop gameplay elements. It wants to kind of tell a linear story, but that linear story is built on kind of replaying the same notes and beats. It's a fantastic concept and one I would like to see developers do more with, but for now, it makes it to the runner-up portion. It wouldn't be a horror list without some kind of jump scare, so boo. I forgot one other runner-up for the category, and that is My Friendly Neighborhood, a game that combines survival horror with Sesame Street, a game that wears its aesthetic perfectly on its sleeves, and is a delightful game to play that it's not going to be full-on, psychological, mind-scarring horror, but a fantastic job of taking this aesthetic and running as far as I think you could reasonably go with it, considering the survival horror aspects. And it's one that I hope we do see more from these puppets in the future. For the best of horror of 2023, I only have 3 entries that kind of make it to the top for me of this year. We're going to start with Resident Evil 4, is Resident Evil 4 Remake. And this one goes in the action horror side of things. A phenomenal rebuild of the original game with greatly expanded roles and story elements. The gunplay is surprisingly really solid for it, with greater numbers and escalation of enemy threats, Leon kicking more things, and of course everyone's favorite knife that has been given a much needed upgrade. There is surprisingly a lot of game here, with the different challenges, collecting the different figurines, the shooting gallery, and making the Ashley sections not as frustrating as they were in the past. While this does lean more on the action side than horror, it's still a very creepy game helped by the Resident Evil engine, giving us all those disturbing images of heads exploding, things mutating, and more. So, this is the one for people who want a lot of boom and gunplay to go with their spooks, and is certainly an easy recommendation. For the other AAA example of horror this year, we have Alan Wake 2. Kind of more open world Twin Peaks style of horror compared to the action focus of Resident Evil, but just a game that really, marches to the beat of its own drummer. This is a celebration of all things Remedy, with musical numbers, lots of references to their other games, and still a very kind of grounded take. You're not going to be fighting dozens of enemies or much frequently, as you did in the first one, but each fight is now far more grounded and moody, as enemies jump and warp around, you fight a giant naked guy in the woods at one point, and then you go on a talk show where everything goes live action. This is one of those games that you will probably never see what's coming up next, with a lot of twists, turns, and unfortunately almost breaking my computer trying to run with the lighting settings up. So if you don't have problems with that or can play on the consoles, this is a fantastic game where you'll never see anything coming, but you'll know it's going to be very unusual and weird. to go with the spookiness. And now we turn to the indie examples of horror. For number 3 of the best of 2023 list, we have Dredge, the fishing horror adventure game, proving that there is more spookiness to go with fishing other than just waiting on a boat for many hours at a time. Combining an almost kind of like shop business sim as you're trying to get your fishing service off the ground or off the water, all while mysterious things will hunt you at night, and there's something bubbling in the water, and don't mind the fish maybe have extra teeth, extra fins, extra heads. It's all perfectly normal. They did put out DLC to add more content, which we did not have a chance to play, but a really great example of how you can take the thematic elements of horror and apply it to anything. The just whole fishing side of this game is intriguing enough, and when you add in the whole spooky factor and exploring these mysterious island chains, there are some fantastic examples of gameplay and horror to go around. So if you like singing sea shanties and surviving at the same time, and doing some fishing along the way, this is certainly going to be an easy recommendation. In a surprising twist, number 4 of my best of horror for 2023 is going to Amnesia the Bunker. And for number 4 of my best of horror for 2023, and the last one for our list, we have a surprise entry with Amnesia the Bunker. This is the first time I think in forever the Amnesia game has made onto the list, and they did with the most un-Amnesia game in their franchise yet. Combining their same style of hiding and avoiding something spooky in the dark, but now with immersive sim and kind of the hunter AI from Alien Isolation. For the first time in the series, you are able to fight and throw things and distract and hurt the enemy, other than just looking far away and hoping that the enemy doesn't see you. This is a really solid concept for a horror game. It's also a little bit on the not as spiky side as, say, some of the stuff from Puppet Combo like Nun Massacre or Stay Out of the House. And the game also received an update, which we didn't get to play, that added even more immersive sim RNG to its horror design with Shell Shock mode. This is a fantastic example of how you can do a very small or condensed game space with horror, allowing the player to explore, mess with things, and give them multiple ways of interacting in the game space. And it surprisingly has me looking forward to whatever Frictional will do next. And in that respect, Amnesia the Bunker is a fantastic game, and while you may not like it if you're more interested in the kind of story-driven, more limited aspect of their previous games, if you did sleep on the Bunker, then this is certainly a recommendation for you. If you're looking for a little bit more immersiveness with your survival horror. And with that, another part is done. Let me know what some of your favorite horror experiences were for 2023. And with that said, everyone, come back tomorrow as we get to part 4. That's going to do it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to do the YouTubing stuff people tell you to do. If you're interested in more of my thoughts on design, check out my books wherever they are sold. Visit our Discord and Patreon, and come back for discussions on game design here, and on game wisdom, where some of the art and science of games.